Howdy, my name is John Oliver. Today is October 23rd, 2014. It's just about 6 p.m. in the evening. I'm just coming to you from Dallas, El Centro Community College. I'm in the dining commons. You hear a lot of noise and people, and that's because they're an open area. I'll go over a thing right quick called, that I'm, in my notes today, I called Holistic Minister's Greenhouse. It is a little bit of context. It is one piece of a large, complex puzzle. Again, the whole thing about the blind man that observed the elephant. We got the trunk. One blind man had the trunk, another the tail, another the side, another the ear, another the leg. You see it differently, but there it's all one piece. This is one part of it. And this is a way to develop talent. It would be one of the priorities is consistently improve stewardship of time, talent, and treasure with emphasis on talent. It's going to take a lot of time. The person needs to know what their talents are, what their strengths are, what their abilities are, and then explore those and do those in ways that are volunteer nature, ministry nature, in a group setting, under supervision, with a mentor, with a tutor. And so how can we do that? Where can we do that? Well, there needs to be a place, a geographic place. That's not, and I'm not suggesting the local church, although this could be adapted there. And I do often have felt terrible that the local church is not used during the week, so it could be adapted there. But in terms of me and my life and my ministry, what I want to do is create this greenhouse that is going to address many different things at once. But the um, but housing. This is the emphasis. This part presentation deals with housing. The needs overseas are water and food and income and sanitation and learning. The big basic needs you have here are housing, shelter, food, clothing, and shelter, right? And what's really difficult for some folks is the housing piece. It's a large percent of the cost of living, especially for people that are starting out, whether it's graduates, college graduates, people coming out of rehab, people coming out of prison, people being divorced, people that want to just simplify. How do you deal with the housing piece? Um, and you've got to kind of, at least in Dallas these days, you got to jump from nothing, living at home, to your own apartment, and that can run five, six, seven, $800 a month with utilities. That's a gigantic leap. So how can you make it less than that? And this is a full apartment. It's just fine if you got a family. If you're single, I deal with a lot of single folks on the college age. Then how do you make that less? Or if you're going to deal with people that want to just focus on spiritual growth, with ministry, with missions, community outreach, they're not so tied up wanting to have a swimming pool and a dishwasher and their own private bathroom and blah blah. But they could share these things. Then how can we get around and work through that? So moving forward, just say that we want to have this would be a hybrid. So, and this relates again back to the 5 services of Networking Hub. We have lots of links to all these things. Wiki Plus, what's a wiki? Outside encyclopedia is going to have all this simplified articles with the links. And the plus means it's going to lean over into things become publications. We're going to look up the history. We're going to know what worked, what has worked, the things they're following. See the things over there on the left side. Patterns, principles, guidelines. We're going to collaborate and cooperate. So about housing. So then we look at the next slide, I hope. So look at retreat centers and Christian camps and convents, monasteries, hermitages, sober living, rehab, halfway houses, college dorms, sorority house, fraternity house, halfway house, apartment, tiny house movement, FEMA trailer, all those kinds of things. So what the square footages, how to do utilities, what's shared. Also I could put on there, if I can do it now, if I can do it live, that'll be amusing. Because it's also some other notes, is co-housing, and kibbutz. So kibbutz, there's a thing kibbutz, but again, and the issue is how do you come and participate and then gain equity and leave, and how can you come and go when you want to? And I mean, what's been a drag and difficult and painful for me is I've never owned. I've always rented. So for if I'm 61 since I was 21, I've been renting. I have no equity, never had any equity. Uh, if I would have started a small trailer house or a small RV and paid for that on a lease purchase arrangement, then I could have, would that have been a smart, wise way? Or this tiny church movement, tiny house movement, where basically it's kind of like a little cabin, a little teeny tiny house, but you could own that, or the alternative housing. And could this again? This relates to, and this is all why this is important. Why is this of any significance? Because it relates to the other part, and why I call it ministers' greenhouse is how can a person be liberated and free to spend a significant amount of their time and energy on prayer, on Bible study, on ministry, on reflection, on fellowship, on writing new songs, on discovering, developing their talents, on developing their online businesses. How can we have multiple tracks? So there would be, and so this greenhouse, so we do all this, and we might one day, and I'm sure that every year goes on the market some kind of a Christian camp or a resort community or a rundown something, or because we're learning about subsistence farmers and farming off the grid, we could buy up some scrap land out in some difficult area and put in some greenhouses and raise our crops using solar power. I mean, there's all kinds of alternatives to that. But the point is, so that I mean, how this really started. It's vitally important at this moment to bring in is that I had a thought about a week ago. What if I had an enormous amount of money, and how would I best use that to fulfill the dream that the vision call God has on my life? My first thought was to have a 21st century convent franchise. That's a peculiar combination of words, but let me break it down just a little bit. 21st century means not, and so I would go and study and look at the Roman Catholic convents over the centuries and how they worked and they spent a lot of time in prayer. But like, here's this female walking by right now, high heels, skinny jeans, a lot of makeup, looking at an iPhone. I mean, all tangled up in this world, and that's fine. So are most of the kids here. They're very involved in fashion. They're very involved in studies. They're very involved in social. But how can I mean, we're to be in the world but not of the world? How can we create a place where you get apart from that for a weekend, for a week, for a quarter, for a year, for a lifetime? How do you do it in a sequential way? And particularly, I said convent instead of monastery because although I certainly have desire to go to monasteries before myself, convent because I've found women who are far more spiritual, far more committed, far more godly, far more Christ-centered. And more service oriented. And so it's not just, so how do you, and then to study within convents and monasteries through the centuries, what did they do to pay the bills? Did they farm? Sometimes they raised grapes and they sold wine. Sometimes they did handicrafts. Sometimes they served in the community. Sometimes they had schools or boarding houses or hospitals or whatever. So tutoring, I think. So how can we what is a 21st century monastery? What's a 21st century convent? And should they be absolutely separate hundreds of miles apart? Can they be together? Can you do a co-ed one? What about hermitage? I mean, how can a person, and the thing I was talking about recently in my notes was a gap year. This is the gap year. Sometimes kids aren't sure what to do with their lives. And really, really important question between high school and college or after college to go to, I've seen those before, to go to graduate school or after graduate school to go on a master's or whatever, to take a year off. Well, why not have a place? That's what I would be aiming for, is a physical geographic location, and it could be Again, in College Station, it could be in Oklahoma City, it could be in Colorado Springs, it could be in the Philippines. In this minute, I'm favoring Philippines and or College Station. It could be all those places. It could be out in Sedona or Santa Fe. I'm feeling really positive about the Southwest these days. And again, the headquarters of the ministry could be either within walking distance or hundreds or thousands of miles away in terms of where the ministry that I will be, where my bed would be, where my office would be, because that's dealing with online and teaching. So, I mean, and how can this integrate? How can they say synergize and integrate? So, I mean, when I look around and I see, again, I'm in downtown Dallas. So you have all these college kids here that are in their teens and 20s. You got women in their 30s and 40s that are all, and there's these gigantic office buildings around here. So they're all together stockings and their high heels and their corporate dresses and attire, whatever, and their coiffured, hairstyles in their fancy cars. So where can they get away? We have home church that I go to. You've got 8 or 12 different families, and they're hardworking man, wife isn't working part time, and a lot of little kiddos from infant up to 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. Lots and lots of kids, a lot of noise, a lot of distraction. Where's the man, the husband, the man, the woman, the husband, the father ever get away? Where do they have to be quiet? Why can't there be why can't the service of this be childcare? At a sliding scale basis. I mean, if a convent, if a ministry something owns property and owns buildings, and you have people there working, and part of what they do is they offer some type of childcare so that it releases the mothers, the fathers to go and learn about parenting, about prayer, about intercession, about Bible history, church history, or about Bible study, or about just time for prayer, meditation, reflection, or go to small groups, or go to support groups. Um, so look at that. So this is a look at that housing piece. It could be integrated into. And the other thing is that once you have the housing piece, well, then what are they going to go out and get jobs at Safeway and McDonald's and Starbucks and Valley Parking and what I mean. I have lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of ideas about kinds of businesses, and some businesses could be like I just today was making some prints at the FedEx. FedEx joint now does their franchise where you can make prints and you can ship your stuff from the same place. That's so why can't we either go work there or have a facility like that? Again, where the people are learning about printing and graphic arts and packaging and customer service and marketing and those kinds of things that are relevant to communication, to ministry, to passive income. I mean, that's that. I think there's a lot of transferable skills there, or have a coffee shop, or have a bookstore, or have a publishing company, or of course a library, community center library. Community center library could have in it the things. So in that community, what do they need? Well, if like in this church where I'm going to, you have a whole lot of little kiddos, then you want to have parenting. You want a lot of kiddos books and the DVDs and sing Bible stories and sing and learn and learn your numbers and learn your phonics and stuff like that. And what they're only going to need for a short time, then they outgrow it. So you share it, cycle it back in the community. Children's educational toys. Boy, I could spend a long time beating drum on that. There's lots and lots of toys out there. Just look it up online. Instead of kids are going to have toys, and grandparents are going to get them, and parents are going to get them there. But why can't they be learning geography and telling time and learn science in a fun, interactive kind of way? There's lots of options. So a library would own those and some would be designated to be used in-house, can't go out, some can be checked out, and they'd be brought back, they'd be sterilized some kind of way, blah, blah. So what I want to do, again called a greenhouse, is I don't believe that I could become the founder of a convent. Oh, there's a little part of me that really thinks I could. But I could be the grandfather of one, where I could set this thing up with the idea from the beginning, and this is the beginning, by the way, that those who come here, okay, and see, also what I said before about the modules. So they don't just come and sit around with a bunch of couches and lazy boys and beanbag chairs and HD TVs and watch a bunch of sports and play ping pong and fart around like that. Not at my place. That'd be maybe some of that sometimes for breaks, maybe a break room. But there would be times and places for intense study, for intense prayer, for intense worship, what is 21st century convent, monastery? And we would actually do yoga and Tai Chi and other kinds of exercises for the body, and learn the kinds of courses to get the continuing education units, to get the certificates, so the whole continuing education piece would be there. Through learning that, again, this is at the college level. And this is not instead of serving subsistence farmers, orphans, and rural pastors. This is in addition to, and this is focused in order to grow any business, you need to pay close attention to your employees. Where the wealth of any business is not in the building, it's not in the finance, it's not in the marketing, it's not in the celebrity endorsements. The real value is in the workers, the employees, discovering and developing their talents, working, and why corporations don't do more employee training and encouragement and recognition and development, leadership development within corporations is because they're stupid, dumb, foolish, and they don't think clearly. That's all. Besides that, they're just great. Besides being wasteful and short-sighted and greedy, they're just great. What else? Well, I've got lots of other notes about these kinds of things, and I'll make another video about that later. This is probably long enough. But you see, the idea is go study these things out thoroughly, and understand them completely. And so the R&D is, let's say that X length of time from today. It's going to be more than months or weeks, but years from today. This is again October of 2014. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now. We've really have gone through all of this, and we know what we want. And we want, just like when I went to the Camino, that thing that had been the Central America's CAM, changed names to Camino something. There's Camino. And they had what? They had little apartments and a common room and an office. And it was like, a shared bath? Wait a minute. No. So, yeah. One place had two small bathrooms with a shared bath, double beds, and then a common room and a shared laundry. And the common room had a common kitchen and lots of tables and like a little living room area, and an administrative area for all their offices to coordinate all their stuff around the world. And they have like a house manager apartment house. And then they had larger rooms that had two big beds with their own private bed. That was $35 and $45 per night. So that's the kind of stuff that I want to go and assimilate and how the fraternity's doing it, what a dorm's doing now. How can we do this so someone can come and they can knock their lights out? And there's lots of tracks. They could come in as just like over at the homeless shelter. They could come in busted. I'm broke. I just got out of prison, got out of jail, came out of the drug house, whatever. I've got nothing. Okay, you can work here. Work to stay. Or you go get a job and within that, or you can go get a discipleship program, a 10-month regiment to 10 months of Bible study, training, small group, exercises, service, joining the church, working with a mentor, and then and they help you find a housing, 10 months all the way out the door. Or you work the same like I do. You bring $10 a month. Or so how can it be multiple tries? Maybe someone will come in there and says, "Look, I've got plenty of money. I don't have quiet, you know, and so here's some money. I'll pay the full rate, you know." Um, or someone could put in for sponsorship or scholarship or so that they can work through the whole thing together. I don't know. I mean, someone could work a really big job, making lots of money on the outside, and come and live in some very affordable, cheap housing, and save up the money, and that's their purpose. I'm just here to live in cheap shared housing so I can build some money, so I can go and put a down payment on a house or trailer, so I can do something else, or so I can give, you know. And some are here, I just need to pray, and I'm here to find my direction, you know. I don't know what to do with my life, and so there'd be a situation where they have, so they might help in the kitchen or help with some administrative tasks, work this day, and they have time, and they have structured time and unstructured time, and mentors, and so how might that work? And it's not, and how has it worked in sorority houses and halfway houses and homeless shelters and kibbutzes, and how can we do that? Thank you. How can we do that for our sake, for our purpose? And how can we share what we learn about that and then have others with an idea again from the beginning that so what I don't want to do, and what we might do, because it's not in my heart right now, is to birth a bunch of church plants, plant a bunch of churches. I'm not help for churches. I'm sorry. I'm not pro-church. And you'll get that if you follow me very long. Church is good, it's necessary, it's important, but that's not what's coming out of my loins. What come out of my loins are more 21st century kinds of convents, 21st century kinds of monasteries, 21st century kinds of halfway houses, 21st century kinds of, and holistic. So that when I say holistic, I mean, when I was in sober living, one time it was clear to me that a certain client was having many medical troubles, heavy psych meds, and changing medicines, and they keep changing this and that. And I said, man, it's a detox, And he recently had gone out and back to street drugs, and he's back on these other pharmaceuticals. But nobody, the word detox was, I might as well use Swahili. I had no idea what that was. And so to use detox, all different kinds of detox. And not just him, but we all need detox from time to time, and exercise, and to learn that, and experience that, and express that, and exercise, and to meditate, and to find ourselves, but through and to serve. And so so that each group, so that there might be a group that is birthed out of this, that that winds up going out to start some kind of a work with orphans somewhere, or children, or return or PTSD people. I mean, there's so many different ways to I mean, my focus is not narrow like that to say. And what I could really get behind and with, and God brings my life over and over and over again, are disabled veterans. And they need a place that is for them, and where they can have their psychological, physical, mental, and spiritual needs met. In this minute, I don't feel right. I could not just go do that. I could do that and something else, or this could lead to something for just disabled veterans, long term. So they're not getting together to go out to start a business, start a career, start a ministry, become a missionary. they're just it's just housing. I mean, they lost a leg. They're psychologically, emotionally all jacked up. There's not an exit plan except for death. So that's a possibility. Or some could go and work with people that are grieving. Just a group. I mean, what we don't do well in America is grieve. So all kinds of grieving the loss of parents, of children, of spouses, just grieving, just a convent, covenant, whatever you want to call that these days, a house, a retreat that's just for grieving, or just for seeking, or just for writing, or just for or just for praising. Anyway. So they could come out from this. The greenhouse is where we birth those two, and some will do well, and some will fail, and oh well. That doesn't mean we're not going to try, and what they will have is each other, and they will have friendships and support, encouragement, and funding, and prayer, and materials, and whatever they need, rides, and whatever advice and legal support, because it's a greenhouse to get up and get it going. That's all for now. Thanks.